And welcome back to the First and Goal podcast. My name is Lewis, and as always, is my beautiful co-host Laraib. As we are super excited to break down week, what is it, 6 of the NFL season, Laraib? Flying by fast. One programming note: we were unable to film our reaction episode to week 5. We were actually watching
On
our
a bye
Pelicans
week.
at the time. Yeah, a little bye week. Go celebrate, a little vacation. Two hardest working men in all of sports journalism right now. So if you can understand, um, but yeah, so we're gonna go ahead. I mean, this Thursday night football game, Chiefs Broncos. We're gonna be putting this out before that game happens. So just so you know, we're both picking the Chiefs in that one. Don't think that's much of a discussion. And they're not going to be involved in our locks, best bets, or upset of the week. So don't worry about that. There are some stuff that we're going to talk about when we talk about these teams about last week's performance. So if you want to hear about your favorite team, we're probably going to allude to what they did last week in our analysis of this upcoming week. So don't worry. You'll still hear about, what you wanted to hear. But we're moving on. We're pushing forward, Laraib. Week 6. Anything you want to say before we hop into this one?
Nope. Let's just go ahead and get right into it, Lewis. First up, we have the Baltimore Ravens coming off a loss last week, playing against the Titans, who are also coming off a loss from last week. Baltimore -4, Lewis. Now, this is another one of those international games, and I'm leaning towards the King Henry team in this one. Now, the Ravens last week, it was a really bad loss for them against the Steelers, and a lot of people were blaming that on Lamar. But that just shows me that you did not watch that game and you're a casual, because Lamar was throwing the ball on the money. Now, you talk about drop balls from Rashad Bateman, drop balls from Zay Flowers. I mean, Rashad Bateman literally dropped a touchdown that would have, sealed that game for them. Now, in this one, I really like what the Titans have been doing. Even after that loss last week, I think they've really started to open up their offense a little bit more with Ryan Tannehill. And this one against the Ravens, these two teams have matched up in the playoffs the last couple of years. We know there's some bad blood in between them. And I think this Titans team is able to pull off the upset in the UK.
So clearly you're the casual here because you did not pay attention to a second of that Titans game from last week. Ryan Tannehill looked awful. They couldn't run the ball against a pretty pedestrian Colts defense who lost
So
their
now
starting
you're the
quarterback.
casual once again, because that Colts defense is not pedestrian. It's time to start giving them their
It's
props.
it's all right. It's all right. It's all right. They're a young exploitable defense. All right, I'll say that much. And I'll give them credit. I'll give them the credit. They're fine. But the Titans so far this season, away from Tennessee, have been an awful offense all year long. They're 0-3 away from home. They lost last week, and their offense just cannot get going. And I don't expect it to do any better against a Ravens team whose defense has been a top 5 unit in the entire NFL. Roquan Smith has been the highest graded linebacker per PFF, and he has been just elite on all facets of the field. DeAndre Hopkins kind of had it going last week, but Marlon Humphrey will be back playing in this game for the Ravens, and he had a pretty good impact outside of a few George Pickens bombs for the Steelers last week. But, this is a Ravens team that's pissed off. They let a game get away last week, and now they're coming in, going overseas. They left on Monday night to go to London. Meanwhile, the Titans just arrived today. So they have an advantage getting there, getting their legs underneath them, and being prepared going to this game with a reinvigorated focus against a team that they have some pretty bad blood with. Lamar's the best quarterback in this game by a long shot. John Harbaugh, Mike Vrabel, I think they're both fantastic coaches, but I'm giving the edge to the Ravens this one overseas. Give me the Ravens 23-17.
Well, if it was always about the quarterback, Lewis, then the Chiefs would be undefeated right now, but
They're
not.
4-1.
I think this Titans team has something to prove against this Ravens team. Like you mentioned, the bad blood between them. I think this is going to be a nice nitty-gritty game to watch in the early morning slot, Lewis. But give me the Titans 21-20.
All right, Laraib, well, let's go ahead and move on to our noon slate of games. First on up, we have the New Orleans Saints traveling to Houston to face your Houston Texans, Laraib. Is that what you're claiming?
My Texans.
All right, well, the Saints are favored by 1.5 points on the road in this matchup, Laraib. Big thing for me is how can this Saints defensive line impact this Texans offensive line? This Texans offensive line has been ravaged with injuries, one of the worst units in the entire NFL, but they've still held up just enough because of how great CJ Stroud has been through the first 5 games of this season. You know, we saw him against Atlanta at Atlanta lead a game-winning drive, but it just, you know, he left too much time on the clock, and then Desmond Ridder led the guys down the field, game-winning field goal. But I just think in this game, I trust the Saints defense a lot more than that Falcons defense last week. I think that defensive line is going to get after CJ Stroud. And I think this interception streak has been really good for him. Saints have 7 interceptions in 5 weeks, leading the entire NFL. I just think these corners can do a really good job. No Tank Dell this week, so it's going to be a lot on Nico Collins' shoulders. I really don't trust Robert Woods at this stage of his career. And Dalton Schultz hasn't showed me much since he's been a Houston Texan. So I think it's going to be a really tough time for this Texans offense to get off the ground in this game. And the Saints offense, I think, is just going to do enough to really put them in an advantage in this game. I like the Saints.
And I'm going to pick the Texans. Now, you talk about the Saints defense, which has taken 7 interceptions this year, but they got to play Ryan Tannehill and Mac Jones. Now, you're not facing those guys. You're facing CJ Stroud, who is already looking like one of the better quarterbacks in the entire league, Lewis. And even without Tank Dell on this one, like you mentioned, maybe Dalton Schultz hasn't had the best season so far, but when you watch that potential game-winning drive from CJ Stroud last week, he was hitting him on that drive. He was hitting Nico Collins. And so I think they have just enough to get the win in this one. Now, the Saints offense, of course, last week kind of got their legs beneath them against this bad Patriots team. But I think in this one, they're going to be a little bit surprised by how well this Texans defense can play. And I think they eke out the victory at home. Give me the Texans 24-21 in what is supposed to be a great game.
And I'm going to go with the Saints in this one, 27-21. I think, you know, the momentum carries into this week and they get the job done, Laraib. But let's go ahead and move on to your fun team, the Seattle Seahawks, going to Cincinnati, and what I'm going to call the game of the week, Laraib. Seahawks going to Cincinnati. Cincinnati is a 2.5-point favorite at home. What did you see from the Bengals offense last week that gives you some hope that they're starting to figure things out and it wasn't just you played the Cardinals?
Well, it was finally the signature deep bombs from Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase, right? We talked about his calf injury, but it didn't seem too prevalent in that game against the Cardinals. He was airing that thing out for show, my brother, hitting Jamar Chase deep all game long, and now you're facing the Seahawks secondary, which we know can be had. But I think this is going to be a really fun game. My Seahawks coming off the bye week, facing a Bengals defense, which is really bad on the ground. So I think the Seahawks ground and pound game with a duo of Ken Walker and Zach Charbonnet are able to go on the road after a bye. Our offensive line starts to get a little bit healthy. We get Jamal Adams back for this game after the concussion protocol. And so I think the Seahawks go on the road against the Bengals team, Lewis, which is really desperate, right? Every single week for them is a must-win game, looking at their record right now and just how well the other teams in their division are playing. But I still like the Seahawks in this one. I think Coach Carroll goes into Cincinnati and lays down the wood.
Yeah, Laraib, I'm going to agree with you in this one. I think that the Seahawks match up very well against this Bengals team. And I just think they'll be able to outscore this Bengals team. I trust this Bengals defense at home to do a decent job. But like you mentioned, they haven't been that good against the run this year. Kenneth Walker, coming off a bye, I think he's going to be energized. He's going to be ready to go. And then we saw Geno Smith just, very comfortable last week. He had a few plays here and there. It looked like he got banged up. But that extra week, this is when you can really take advantage of that early rest in the season because your guys are still juiced. They're not losing much from that extra week off. So this is when you need a win if you're the Seahawks because, on the road, if you're coming, this is your only bye week was last week. So you got to make this count. I think they get the job done. And frankly, I just think they're the better team right now, Laraib. So give me the Seahawks. I'm going to go Seahawks 26-20.
And I will go with the Seahawks 28-24. Fly, birds, fly. Well, let's move on to another game, Lewis. In the afternoon slate, we have the San Francisco 49ers going to Cleveland to play the Browns. San Francisco -8.5. And now there's some questions about Deshaun Watson, even though this Browns team is coming off a bye week. Deshaun Watson, like you mentioned, or you told me, did not practice today. It looks like his status for the game is definitely up in the air. And the weather for this game, Lewis, is going to be really, really bad. Just a lot of monsoon, raining type of weather over there in Cleveland. But the thing is, we saw this 49ers team go into similar weather last year against the Bears and also lose on the road. And so this could potentially be a trap game for the 49ers, but I still think they're the best team in the entire NFL right now, Lewis. They're playing at a very high level compared to everyone else. And this Browns defense, they're formidable, but when you have DCR as your backup quarterback, I think this 49ers defense is going to go out there and not just have a game.
No, it's probably going to be PJ Walker. They said PJ Walker would start if it's not Deshaun Watson on Sunday. But for this game, Laraib, I think this is a very scary game for the 49ers. Not from the fact that I think they're going to lose. I think they're going to win. I think they'll be fine. But this is one of those games where you look at Debo, you look at Christian McCaffrey, you look at George Kittle, guys with an injury history and a crappy weather game against a super physical defense, and you kind of wince every single time they go down in this one because it's going to be that type of game. This Browns defense, I think they're a little overrated after what I saw the Ravens do against them, after getting all these historic comps. Coming off a bye week, though, I think they're going to be engaged. They're going to be super physical. Now, I don't trust this offense whatsoever, especially against this 49ers defense, but I worry if I'm a 49ers fan in this game, because a lot of these guys, you really want to be patient. As a Christian McCaffrey fantasy owner, I'm fine with taking 10 points this week and getting, some of those other guys some more run in this game. But I'm going to go with the 49ers and a lower scoring game. I don't think the 49ers are going to keep their 30-plus point game streak alive. I'm going to go 49ers 20 to Browns 6.
Yep, good points there. Yeah, I agree with you. You want to get out of this game with a clean slate. Even if you take a loss, you really don't want some of your guys going out there and getting real banged up in a game that could be very, very wet, if you know what I mean. Give me the 49ers 20-14.
No, I don't know what you mean.
If you know what I mean. But let's move on to another game. We have the Indianapolis Colts going to Jacksonville to play the Jaguars. Jaguars -4. And now this Jaguars team, Lewis, has kind of been picking up a little bit of the slack, from early on in the season. Now they face the Colts for the second time this year after going to Indianapolis, now at home. And they've been on a 7-game win streak at home against this Colts team. And, we saw against the Bills last week just how well Trevor Lawrence played, how well that rushing attack was on the ground against the Bills defense, which we think is, pretty solid. And so now you're back at home against a Colts team without Anthony Richardson. Now, Gardner Minshew has done a great job in his place, but I think this Jags team has definitely found their groove in this one, and I think they continue to roll at home.
I actually like the Colts in this matchup, Laraib. I think Gardner Minshew has done more of a sizable job as the quarterback for the Colts this year. And if you look at the numbers, obviously he's nowhere near as dynamic as Anthony Richardson. He just doesn't make the explosive plays, but higher completion percentage, higher passer rating, and the offense has scored more points per drive with him at quarterback. So I think that, obviously you'd rather have Anthony Richardson. I'm not saying that, but I just think this Colts team, they've this really good defense out there.
Yeah.
I think, I don't know, just the Jags coming back off 2 weeks overseas. I know they got back early, and this game is at home, but it's just a tough turnaround. And then, Laraib, they go play at New Orleans next Thursday. So this is going to be a really rough stretch, because normally, Laraib, I don't know if we'll be at that game, by the way, but I don't know if this is a thing, but I figured that when teams get off their London game, they usually have a bye or something like that. I just don't know why that's not the case in this instance. So I think the Jaguars in a pretty rough spot here, playing 5 weeks in a row, 2 games overseas, and coming back against a very tough physical division opponent. I'm picking the Colts here because I need an upset. I'm going to be quite honest with you, but I like the points here too. I think this is going to be a really close physical game. And, we've seen we saw what the Colts did against the Ravens a few weeks ago. Keep it close. Just let your defense make a play in the end. And they have a really good kicker who can win it. So I think that similar game script's going to happen in this one. I think the Colts win with a, big kick at the end for Matt Gay. I'm going to go Colts 23 to Jags 21.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you that the Colts have the ability to cover this one, and I do have them covering. But I just think Trevor Lawrence and this Jaguars team, with the rushing attack, with all the weapons they have on the outside, I think they just get it done at home. So give me the Jags 27-24.
I'll do it. Let's go ahead.
Do you want to give your score?
I did. I said 23-21.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you're good.
That's on me.
So let's go ahead and move on to our first 3 o'clock game of the slate. And this one is going to be a doozy, Laraib. You have the 4-1 Lions traveling to the 3-1 Tampa Bay Bucks. Lions favored by 3 on the road here, Laraib. Um, Bucks coming off a bye. Obviously, they beat the crap out of my Saints. And if you take out, your preseason biases and all these, I still don't think they're a great team. I still have questions about Baker, but they've played really well this season. But are they on the Lions level, Rob?
For sure, in my opinion. Now, I've been riding with this Bucks team, Lewis. And of course, you talk about a team that was supposed to be tanking for the 1 seed, supposed to be drafting Caleb Williams. Meanwhile, they're 3-1. They played some really good games so far this season. And now they face a Lions team, which is hot right now. I can't disagree with that this Lions team has been playing very, very sound football. But I think this is the type of one of those games where you just kind of, waltz in and you think you're going to beat this Bucks team who, lost Tom Brady from last year. But I think this Bucks team coming off a bye, Baker Mayfield playing some of the best football I've ever seen. This is going to be a really close game. It's going to be a fun game to watch. But I think this Bucks team with that defense has something to prove against the Lions, and especially coming off a bye at home, I think they can get the dub in this one.
You say that they're in the same tier. I think you're underrating how good this Lions team is. This isn't the same Lions team of last year, Laraib. This team is legitimately an NFC contender this season. I think their defense has been much improved from what we saw last year. They are leading the league in pressures this season. Aiden Hutchinson is leading all individuals in pressures this season, and their defensive line is getting after it. And against this Bucks offensive line, which really has only been tested once, we saw them get decimated by the Eagles in that Thursday or in that Monday Night Football game. I think a similar script happens here at home. They won't be able to run the ball. Rachaad White is not a good running back, and it's just going to be really tough for them to be able to move the ball against this Lions team. And this Lions offense, they're just so versatile. Amon-Ra St. Brown will be back in this game. Jahmyr Gibbs will be playing in this game. So they're getting a lot of firepower back. Plus, Jameson Williams, he didn't have that big of an impact last week, but I think another week in the system, getting his legs underneath him, I think he has a few big plays in this game to really, break it open for this team. I do respect the Buccaneers defense, obviously. I think that interior, that Vita Vea, has been playing at an all-pro level this season. I'm going to give him all the flowers. And they still have some good defensive, secondary pieces. Antoine Winfield, Carlton Davis. So I think this won't be an easy game for the Lions, but I think you're underrating how good this Lions team is. And I think they come in here and they take care of business at Tampa. Give me the Lions in this one. I'm going Lions 35 to Bucks 28.
Yeah, you talk about this Lions team. They've played two absolute pumpkins of a team in the past 2 weeks, playing against the Packers, which we saw just have been frauds. And of course, the Panthers last week. Now they're going to be facing going into the Lions Den, playing the Pirates.
The Lions Den. Have the Buccaneers won a game at home all season?
Going into the Lions Den.
They haven't won a game at home all season.
I think they're going to be sleepwalking into this one after dominating against the Panthers last week. And, we know they love to run the ball with David Montgomery, but they're going to be, the Bucs defense is going to be bottling that up this week. So we'll see if the former Jared Goff comes out in this one and throws some freebies to this Bucs defense. Give me the Buccaneers 27-24.
All right, Laura, that's how you feel about this Lions team. I can't wait to watch that one unfold. But, Laura, we're going to go ahead and move all the way to Monday Night Football, Laura. We have the Dallas Cowboys traveling to LA to face the Chargers. Dallas favored by 2 points on the road here, Laura. You think you've watched these teams all season. You see Dallas have these huge outpouring of scoring and defense and all these huge plays against the dregs of the league, but against competent teams, they can't get out of their own way. So what Dallas team are we going to see here on Monday night?
I think we're going to see the same team that we saw last Sunday night. Now, you talk about their 3 wins this year, Lewis, against the Giants, the Jets, and the Patriots, like you alluded to. Now, this is not one of those teams that we're talking about here. We're talking about my Los Angeles Chargers with Justin Herbert and with Austin Eckler back. This team coming off a bye week, Lewis, they are going to dominate at home against the Cowboys team, which is fraudulent. Now, you talk about, we know this Cowboys team loves to beat up on bad teams, but in this one, I think this Chargers team is going to be up to the task. You talk about Khalil Mack and the performance he had 6 sacks a couple of weeks ago. I think we see that same type of performance out of him in this one. I think the Chargers team has something to prove against the Cowboys team, which has been dominated, in a couple of games this season.
So you talked about how they put up performance against bad teams. I hate to break it to you, Laraib. The Chargers
Don't say it.
are
Don't say
not a
it.
bad team, but they're not a great team. All right. This is a team that the Cowboys are clearly better than on paper. And I do trust Mike McCarthy more than I trust Brandon Staley. Yes, you have to say this. Yes. Now, the big X factor in this game, Laraib, is Kellen Moore on the Chargers. Is he going to have a few tricks up his sleeve? Is he going to know Dan Quinn's defense in and out after being alongside him for all these years? That's what I'm really interested to see. But I think this is a big get-back game for the Cowboys offense. I think they're going to be able to run the ball in this game. They're going to prioritize running the ball with Tony Pollard, try to get Rico Dowdle in there, just get a change of pace. They're clearly missing Zeke, just that thumper inside to get those easy 5-yard, 4 yards, to make it second and short, second and mid. But I think in this game against this Chargers rush defense, they will be able to do that even with Tony Pollard running the ball. And then, getting guys, they traded away J.C. Jackson for the Chargers. I'm not saying he was good on the Chargers, but that's a cornerback that they had against a big physical receiver like CeeDee Lamb. I think he's going to have a good game. Primetime, the Cowboys just got embarrassed on primetime last week. This team has a definite ego about them, and this Cowboys defense is going to hunt Jay Herbo all night long, Laraib. So give me the Cowboys in this game, 31-17.
I can't wait till my Chargers prove me wrong, Lewis. Now, you talk about this Cowboys team against the 49ers last Sunday night. A lot of people were not watching the second half of that game, but let me tell you, a lot of Cowboys defensive starters really went down and left the game early after injuries. Let me tell you some other guys on injury report, Lewis. Stephon Gilmore, Malik Hooker, DeMarcus Lawrence, even on the offensive side of the ball, Tyron Smith, Tony Pollard, Leighton Vander Esch, Donovan Wilson. Those are all guys who were on limited practice this week or did not practice at all. I think they're injury ravaged, Lewis. Micah Parsons, every single time he gets lit up on a defensive play, he's always grabbing his wrist or he's always limping off the field and looking all.
Are you saying Micah Parsons is a fraud? Are you saying Micah Parsons is a fraud?
I'm not saying he's a fraud. I'm just saying he's banged up a little bit right now.
You said he's the best defensive player in football. Do you not think?
Banged up. I mean, he's banged up.
Is he on the injury report? No, he's not.
It's those little nicks and cuts.
He's fine. He's fine.
He loves to get on the Xbox and stream on Twitch or whatever after he takes it.
It's his podcast. He can't.
And that's what he's going to do again in this one. Oh, we got something for this Chargers team when we meet him later in the season.
He does.
He's got nothing for him in this one.
That's the Chargers fire within him. That's the fire within him.
Bro is fighting for his job at this moment. After a bye week, give him the Chargers at home. Give him the Chargers 27-24.
This Cowboys team, they have an ego and it gets the best of them sometimes, but they're going to be reinvigorated to destroy this Chargers team.
I'm sorry, Lewis. This is not the Giants. They're not playing the Giants. They're playing the Los Angeles Chargers.
I'll put a whole cane sauce on this game. Cowboys win.
Shake on it.
Shake. All right. All right, Laraib. Well, that'll do it for our spotlight games of the week. Let's go ahead and move on to some games. So we're just going to do a quick little summary of games that maybe aren't the most interesting to the entire NFL narrative. Let's go through them quickly, Laraib. Starting with Washington Commanders at the Atlanta Falcons. Who you got?
I got the Falcons. I mean, I hate this team, honestly. I hate picking them, but facing the Commanders team, which started 2-0, now they're 0-3. Falcons undefeated at home. Desmond Ridder undefeated at home. Give me the Falcons with their rushing attack, 27-23.
I don't think that the Falcons, Washington, Sam Howell's been the most sacked quarterback in the entire NFL through 5 weeks of the season, but they're playing against one of the worst pass rushes in the entire NFL on the Falcons. I'm still picking the Falcons in this one. You know what? No, I'm picking the Commanders in this one. I think Sam Howell gets unleashed. I'm changing my pick right now. I'm going with the Commanders. And all right, Laraib, so we got another one. We got the Minnesota Vikings traveling to Chicago to play the Frisky Bears. Are the Bears going to get are they going to go on a winning streak, Laraib?
No, give me the Vikings. Even without Jettas, I think I can trust Kirko more in this one. They still have some great receivers over there and KJ Osborne. And of
Heck
course,
yeah.
rookie Jordan Addison, and of course, my guy, Alexander Madison. I think this Bears team just had a fluky win against a bad team. Give me the Vikings in a must win game of the battle of 1 and 3s. Give me the Vikings 26-23.
You
Say
know,
something goofy. Make my
you
day.
know,
Make my day.
I'm going with the Vikings. I'm
Yeah,
going with the
that's what I
Vikings in
thought.
this one. I'm going Vikings 24 to Bears 17. All right. Now we got the Dread Panthers going to Miami. Miami is a 13.5 point underdog. Yep. They're gonna win, right?
Yeah, give me
Miami.
Dolphins 31-13. Not
Yep.
much
And
else to
I'm
say.
going Dolphins 35 to 10. All right, next game up, we have a barn burner here. The Arizona Cardinals traveling to Los Angeles to face the Rams. Rams favored by 7 in this game. Cooper Kupp is back. This offense is back. I like the Rams in this one. I think they put up a big offensive showcase. I'm going Rams 33 to Cardinals 30. Close game. Fun game.
Yeah, Cooper Kupp, Puka Nakua, they just light up this Cardinal secondary, just like we saw Jamar Chase do last week. Even the Rams 27-20.
All right. And then the game that we're most excited got flexed out of the primetime slot for the 3 o'clock. We have the Philadelphia Eagles traveling to the Jets. Philadelphia favored by 7 on the road. I like Philly in this one. I just think this defensive line has been probably one of the best units in the entire NFL. And, the Jets offensive line, you lose Elijah Vera Tucker for the entire season. They're going to feast on Zach Wilson. Give me the Eagles 30 to Jets 13.
Yeah, Jets 29th ranked rusty, so that just lets you know what this Eagles offensive game plan is going to be, just running the ball down their throats. Give me the Eagles 27-14.
All right. And then finally, Sunday Night Football. The awful Giants going to the Bills. Laura, I don't even remember the last time the biggest spread of the week was the Sunday Night Football game. Obviously, the schedule makers thought the Giants are going to be a better team. But man, I mean, the best team in New York is going to win this game big. You mentioned to me earlier before we started talking that Daniel Jones might not even play in this game, and it's not going to make a difference in my opinion. I think the Bills, pissed off by their performance last week, come in here and destroy the Giants at home. Give me the Bills 43 to Giants 10.
Yep, I have to agree with you. Daniel Jones dealing with a neck injury, and so we might see a little bit of Tyrod Taylor action in this one. Give me the Bills 31-14.
All right, Laraib, time for our locks, upsets, and best bets of the week. You had the first pick of the locks, or you the first pick of the upsets. Who is your upset of the week?
My upset of the week has to be the Tennessee Titans, Lewis. I think there's a lot of bad blood between these two teams. We never know what type of Tennessee team we're going to get on any given Sunday. And after a bad loss to the Colts, I think they step it up across the pond.
Speaking of those Colts, I have the Colts as my upset, taking on a team that just spent 2 weeks across the pond, a little bit of jet lag, a little bit of tea and crumpet still in the system, and it's going to get their snot beat out of them against the
That
Colts in
doesn't
this
make any
ball
sense.
game.
Who's ever said that?
The British, all right. So our next we have what is your lock of the week, Laura?
My lock has to be those snot drooling Jacksonville Jaguars.
I'm telling you,
The
man.
Colts team, which we know as a frisky D, but 7 straight against the Colts at home. I think this Jacksonville team continues to roll.
All right, and then my lock is those Dallas flipping Cowboys. How about them Cowboys? Huge message again. This could be a fun Monday Night Football game. We are especially going to be locked in on this one. Cowboys with a statement. And then finally, my best bet of the week, Laura. I think we totally forgot to cover this game. Now that I'm looking, did we do Pats Raiders?
No.
Oh man. So we'll do that real quick. I like the Raiders in this one. I just think all season they've been a better team than the Patriots. I don't care that it's a short week. I just think, and what Patriots fan is going to want to go to Vegas to watch this awful coach team? I think this might be the worst team in football, and they're still. Oh, yeah, I'd go to Vegas anyway. But I mean, I just think this is like they're still getting the respect that they are the Patriots and they are a good team. The Raiders are just by far the better team. They have way more talent. The Raiders are going to win this one.
Yeah, you talk about two teams who are second and third in turnovers this year with 10 and 11. I think this is going to be a sloppy ass game. If you like just two teams throwing the ball to the other team on accident, this is going to be the game for you to watch. Like you mentioned, I like the Raiders. They're just a better team. Bill Belichick with this could potentially be a 3-game losing streak for him, going up against one of his former coaching staffs in Mike McDaniels. So he might have a little something cooked up in this one, but still, I'm going to go with the Raiders 21-20.
And I just like the number here. That's why I'm choosing as my best bet, -2.5. I think they win by a clean 3. Actually, I'm gonna go a clean 4. I'm gonna go Raiders 17, Patriots 13. Lower scoring game.
All right, and for my best bet, I will go with the Bills -14.5. Now, I know that seems like a large number, but in the Bills' 3 wins this year, they won by 28, 34, and 28 against really bad teams, and they're facing another really bad team at home. Give me the Bills by over a dozen and some extra.
All right, Laraib, well, that's going to do it for today's episode. We'll be back with our reaction episodes coming next week. Again, we apologize for that. However, we're going to be going to the Saints Jaguars game, Thursday Night Football next week. So we'll see if we can find some time, maybe on Wednesday, maybe on Friday, to film a predictions episode for you guys. And if you want us to do something during the game, a little live show, something like that, we might be able to hook something up for y'all. But we'll let you know as we go forward. But Laraib, anything you want to say before we head out of here?
No, I think this is First and Goal podcast signing off.
Peace.